So hello and welcome to this Excel depreciation tutorial. Today we'll be covering two methods, mainly the straight line method and the reducing balance method of depreciation. The reducing balance method of depreciation is also referred to as the written down value method of depreciation. So we'll start with the straight line method. So I have already included some headers, which I will be discussing as we go along. So let's say we have an asset which is valued at 10,000 with an nil scrap value or residual value. So scrap value would be the value of the asset once it is fully depreciated and you're going to sell it. So say you have a motor vehicle costing 10,000, at the end of its useful life, it will be, you would be able to sell it for 500 euros. Now in this case, we will not be taking any residual value. So 10,000 minus 0 means 10,000. We'll be choosing a depreciation rate. In this case, I have chosen 10%. I could have chosen 5%, but let's keep it simple with the 10%. Just a side note, you may be given at some instances that an asset is depreciated over a number of years rather than you would be given a strict depreciation rate, such as a 10%. So you could be given, for instance, I don't know, maybe a depreciation of over 5 years. Okay, so in that case, what you would have to do is simply divide the 5 by 100. Divide the 100 by 5, apologies. And that would give us a rate of 20% per annum. So let's say we would want to depreciate the asset over 15 years. So what we have to do is 100 division by 15. And it would give us a depreciation rate of 6.67% per annum. But in this case, we'll just stick to the 10%. So to calculate the depreciation, what we would need to do is take the value minus scrap value, which in our case is 10,000, and multiply it by the depreciation rate, which we have just discussed here. 10,000 times 10% would give us 1,000 depreciation. In the straight line method, the depreciation would be the same per annum. It will not change. And so depreciating in the first year would be the same as depreciating in the fifth year. So the value would remain always the same. Let's say that we have no scrap value. The depreciation rate will not change, and the accumulated depreciation will be increasing year in, year out, up to the point where the accumulated depreciation meets the value. So in this case, the asset can no longer be further depreciated, as we have reached the maximum number of years. So in year 11, the original value would be 10,000. The scrap value would be nil. Here it's telling us it is 11,000. It cannot be that the accumulated depreciation is greater than the value of the asset. So in that case, year 11 depreciation would be 0. We can do that with a formula. So if you would simply enter an if formula, if this is equal to this, then do nothing. You'd have to include an or. In this case, that is more of an intermediate to an advanced technique. I will not be going into it. So this is incorrect, and we will remove it. So now let's say that we do have a scrap value amounting to 500. So at the end of, in 50 years time, we would be able to sell the asset at 500. So all that would change is this. As you can see, this and this are now equal. So after 10 years, the asset has been fully depreciated up to the value minus the residual value. Okay, so now we'll be moving on to the reducing balance method value of depreciation. which I will be discussing. It is not very difficult to understand and comprehend. The first year will be the same as the straight line method. The only difference is that along the years, this value will be changing. Okay, so I have populated this sheet. I have just entered the number of years. So let's say that we have the same asset valued at 10,000 with no scrap value. And the depreciation rate of 10%. So just a side note that in the case of the reducing balance method of depreciation or the written down value method of depreciation, you have to be given a percentage. You cannot be given a number of years, as every year the depreciation rate will be changing. So in mathematical terms, the asset is going to be depreciated forever. So the method of working will be changing. So here we have to introduce another column, accumulated depreciation. And we would have to remove this from there, this from here, and this is the RBN value. So we would have to calculate the first year's depreciation as we have always did. So we simply grab the value and multiply it by the depreciation rate, which would give us 10,000. In the case of the second year, we would have the value will be changing. So the value here will be this minus the actual depreciation. We have no scrap value, so let's input that. In reality, you can remove these two columns just to keep things simple. The depreciation rate will be staying the same throughout the 10 years. So now let's say we have 15 years, 17 years. And the depreciation is going to be the 9,000 times 10%. Here we're going to be subtracting the 900 from the 9,000. Okay, and that goes on and on and on. And as you can see, the depreciation per annum is always decreasing. So we can go on with this for quite a number of years. We will never be reaching the zero as we did in the straight line method. So as you can see, the value is always decreasing, but not in a... It is reducing in an exponential manner. So here the change was of 1,000, whereas here the change was only of 28 euros. So, in a nutshell, that is how the reducing balance method or written down value method of depreciation is calculated. Now, what I'd like to show you is this depreciation calculator that I've set up. You won't have to, by using this tool, you won't have to stay manually calculating the depreciation. So, in this case, I have an asset, let's call it test asset, with an invented invoice number 658B8546. I'm going to be choosing the straight line method. I can also choose the reducing balance method of depreciation, but in this case we'll choose straight line method. We'll choose a depreciation rate of 5%. The date of addition would be, let's say we added the asset on the 1st of January 2008, and we disposed of the asset on the 31st of December 2015. Okay, let's say we have no scrap value, and we have received no consideration for the asset. Okay, so you simply go to the year when the asset was added, which in our case is 2008. Okay, and here you can see the depreciation per annum. So the asset is being depreciated 2,500 per annum up to the date of disposal, which we said was 2015. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 years times 2,500 would be 20,000. In this case, since there was no scrap value and nothing from we received nothing for the asset, we made a loss of 30,000 on the asset. Let's say we sold the asset for 40,000, would have made a profit on disposal of 10,000. Let's say we sold it for 30,000, we would have made no gain or loss. You can also input the scrap value. Just a side note is that the date of addition is depreciated and the date of disposal is also depreciated. So if you would like to take a full year's depreciation, you would have to add the asset on the 1st of January and dispose of it on the last day of December. You can also change this to, for example, you bought the asset in the middle of the year and you would not like to take a full year's depreciation. As you can see here, we had only taken a portion of the depreciation. This is calculated on a daily basis and you cannot get more accurate than this. It's up to you then to change the policy as you wish. So thank you for joining me on this tutorial. I'll hope to see you soon.